Something Like Olivia, the acoustic version by John Mayer. Let's just play through it to see what we're getting into. So this is that version, not the studio album Born and Raised one. It's a 1-4-5 in G, which is why you hear a lot of open-ended chord versions of the tune. People covering it. But the version that I hope you guys came for is this particular one. So it starts off with a broom handle grip on the G. So our thumb is fretting the 3rd fret of the low E. We're muting the 5th, playing these notes and muting the high E. And it starts off with 2 downstrokes, just on the bass note and the muted 5th string. Then we do a chord bop and immediately deaden our fingers so that we create a rest between that and the notes to follow. And the notes to follow are that little bass riff. So slow, the whole thing sounds like this. And you'll notice that when you're playing it, you're not playing it clean. It does not sound like... It sounds like this. So we're really over-exaggerating the strumming. We're hitting muted notes on either side of almost every note. It's meant to be played dirty. That's what sets it apart from the wimpy open-end chorded version. Apologies to anyone that does that particular thing. So, measure 1, slow from the top. Notice the direction of the pick strums in the tab. They're notated painstakingly for a reason. It just makes it easier to always start each kind of beat on a downstroke. That's kind of the purpose of that timekeeping muted strum. Let's just go over that. I'll point that out. So in the middle of that, there was a muted strum. Here. And that kind of keeps the direction of the pick going, so you always end up on the upstroke, so you can start a downstroke next time. And it also throws in a little timekeeping device like a snare on beats 2 and 4, similar to very wide variety of Mayer songs. You have this 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of thing, so you'll notice that in this tune as well. Well, let's go on to measure 2 now. So measure 2 sounds like this. So the one difference is we have 3 alternate picked bass notes in this one. Also, the chord bop is followed immediately by a muted upstroke. So, before we go into a variation on the bass riff. So slow, measure 2 is like this. Notice that there's a bit of a rest there, not a rest, but you kind of hold the note longer and you don't do a time-keeping downstroke like you'll see later on in the tune. So one more time, measure 2. And that brings us to measures 3 and 4, which start off exactly the same way as the last one. And that's the big difference there in measure 3. We finish off the bass lick with a slide from the 5th fret of the 6th string to the 7th, back again. So slow, measure 3 is... Pretty simple. Then measure 4, that kind of ends off the instrumental intro part of the song. It's... So again, starts off the same way, alternate pick bass notes. Major difference there is by the time you get to this note, you kind of let up on the muting of the 5th string and you're going to be playing it as you fret on the 5th string, the 7th fret and the 5th fret. So slow, that's measure 4. So you gotta hold that one, play strings 4 and 5 together, and then 7th fret of the 5th string, 5th fret of the 5th string, and then you're into the singing part. Again, the one thing I want to leave everyone with is when you're playing it, it's not clean. It's very dirty, full string strums. Like that, not clean. It's supposed to be played dirty. Measures 5 to 8. Again, we have our standard G broom handle grip, but this time we're doing an octave. And a full strum up and down, down and up. So, that's the 3rd fret of the 6th string and the 5th fret of the 4th string, forming a G octave. Popular in disco. So, and again, that upstroke is not muted anymore, it's fully struck. Then into the lick. That's a bit different. So from the top, slow. And then we go into measure 6, which is this neat. Reminiscent of Doobie Brothers songs, like the music. So that is a C chord, believe it or not, but played in this manner. So we're barring with our first finger, strings 4, 3, 2, and then we're doing a hammer. Actually, we're barring from 5 to 2. We're doing a hammer-on from 5 to 7 on the 5th string. So we're doing this, like. And then we're throwing our pinky down on the 8th fret, barring the 2 top strings. And then continuing that lick, like that. So slow from the top. A lot of weight here. And then we go into measure 7, which is back to here again. Again with that little slide up. Measure 8. We sometimes hear a bit of the open 4th string in that, or it could be the fretted 5th string because they're the same. So again, slow. Yeah, on that muted strum, you'll sometimes hear that 4th string ring out. As long as you're fretting the right spots, open strings and stuff, they're just going to add more depth and sound good. So, measures 9 to 12. Some interesting rhythms are starting to get introduced here with this. Again, that's that same C chord with the hammer-on the 5th string from the 5th fret to the 7th. And then the high chord. And then we go into measure 10. So that's a bit different on that hammer-on. We actually have a little upstroke on the 7th fret of the 5th string. So instead of where you wait, it's you throw a little thing in between. So we have some muted strums in there to change it up. 2, 1. Then we go back down for measure 11 to the G. We do 2 downstrokes. So that's again. And finally to measure 12, which is back to the 3. That kind of thing. Let's just run through measures 9 to 12, a bit slow, all in a row, just so you get the feel of it. measures 13 and 14. So what's going on there is we're shifting up to the D position. So we're borrowing the 7th fret from on the 5th string down. We're doing a hammer-on from the 7th fret of the 5th string to the 9th fret. Doing a little upstroke note on the 9th fret before we're stabbing down with a little chord bop. So, and after that we're basically just playing around with that hammer-on again, and we're just accenting different string groups, let's say. So the barred strings down here high, and then the hammered on one for the low. So real slow again, it's up high, low. So it's just accenting different strings of the chord. You can kind of get that from the tab. Ending off, of course, with a little grace note slide. Grace note's a really quick note. They're all over the tune. And ending on the 5th fret. So one more time, slow. And then measure 14 is that same thing at the C position, same kind of chord, hammer on. This time it's from the 5th fret of the 5th string to the 7th fret. So we're doing the hammer on, one upstroke on the 7th fret chord, doing the hammer on again, and then hammering on the 4th string, 7th fret. And then we're doing some strumming. And the thing we're strumming is basically the 5th fret of the 5th string and the 7th fret of the 4th string. So, and then we end off with these two notes, 7th fret of the 5th string, 5th fret of the 4th, and we go on to the next section. So really slow, measure 14 is, and even slower. Measures 15 and 16. So what we're hearing here is we're ending off both of those measures with the open D string, or the 4th string. So those go like this. This is measure 15. So that just changes up the ending of that lick. So 7th fret of the 5th string, 5th fret of the 6th, and then open 4th string. Then back for measure 16. And the ending there is basically a chunk, and then 7th fret of the 6th string, 5th fret of the 6th string, and then back to that open 4th string. So both of those slow. And at this point you have the beginnings, or the makings of the verse and the chorus part. So you can take these rhythms as they stand and pretty much do the song. So if you're happy with that, speed on to the middle part solo and learn that bit. If you want, stick around and I'll show you the variations in the other verses and choruses before we get to the middle solo part and the ending. Now we're just going to pick and choose a few measures that are interesting to the ear, that bear some deeper looking at. And two of these are measures 17 and 18, basically coming into the second verse. And they sound like this. And the difference there, the starting is same. That's the big difference. We have this muted strum, and then the 7th fret of the 6th string, and then all the way down to the 3rd fret of the 6th string, and we end like that. So slow, measure 17 is. That's how we end off. It is a big jump from the 7th fret to the 3rd, but it kind of has an interesting drop. And then coming out of that, we go into measure 18, which is that C chord again. And here we're doing doing a series of hammer-ons on the 5th and 4th strings, and we're kind of strumming each one, which is a bit unusual. Usually with a hammer-on, you pick once, and then you hammer on the next note. In this case, we're hammering on and pulling off, but we're strumming each note. And that kind of, or strumming each note, that gives it that special feel. So, measure 18 slow. So the notes themselves, but in this case we're hammering on and pulling them off and strumming them all. Oops. And again, that ending is the big different part. Starting on the 5th string, we do that kind of thing. 5th fret to the 7th fret on the 5th string. We go up to the 4th string, 5th fret, and then come back down. 7th to the 5th fret on the 5th string, and end off on the 7th fret of the 6th. So that one slow one more time. And again, you'll see the upstroke downstrokes are always leaving the end of the measure on an upstroke usually, so that gives you enough time to reorient and come back down with your downstroke for the next part. Measure 19 features a nice slide up into the chord from the 2nd fret to the 3rd. So that's the big difference there. So we start on the 2nd fret on the 6th string, and we kind of slide into the 3rd, and then pick the 3rd, and then go up to the octave, which is the 5th fret of the 4th string, before we do our chord. So that's how the rhythm goes there. Measure 21 and 22 in the 2nd verse are slightly different. Major difference there is the ending of measure 21 has this little slide from the 5th fret to the 3rd back up again. And it's a strum slide. So measure 21 slow is... That's the little slide bit. Then going into measure 22, it's... We end with this open 3rd string. So yeah, big full strums, just like the first verse. Tiny difference in the phrasing. Measures 24 to 26 are a bit unusual. So measure 24 has this neat little move. We have that kind of hammer-on thing we do when we're doing the C chord, and then we kind of do a slide. Kind of strum the whole chord, and then do the slide from the 5th fret of the 5th string up to the 7th of the 5th string. Then we get into measure 25. To measure 26. That's the neat part about 26. Kind of really changes up the rhythm there. So the whole thing slow from 24 to 26 is... Big slide coming into 26. And these are kind of 2-note chords. Kind coming out of that. So that one's kind of unusual. Measure 28, just going to the solo, has a bit of a different phrasing. Just ending up high. Measures 29 and 30 are the beginnings of the solo, and they sound like this. So, slow. We have this nice chord that we slide up twice. Sounds like this. And we slide that up twice. And we have a downward thunk, and the upward kind of muted strum is around the 7th fret harmonic area. Very light. You don't have to do this, but it sounds in the track, and that's because his hand position is getting ready for the kind of lick. So slow again, that's... And then the next part is this chord, and we slide that up twice. Downward thunk, upward harmonic chime around the 5th fret. Again, you can just go if you want, or if you want it to sound like the track, and that's getting ready for this lick. So slow. Ending with the open 5th string. Measures 31 and 32. These are two of my favorite measures. They got some neat stuff going on. Again with that slide. This time though we do a kind of a chord snatch with the fingering we got. And on the upstroke, we kind of take all our fingers off because we're moving them. And we go to the high lick. And this is a really neat part. We end off that measure with a sliding 7th fret on the 5th string. And then the open 5th string. So slow. And that sets us up for measure 32, which is that nice little run up. So the beginning is just that second note is very muted. And then we have this run up. Oops. Ending off with the open D. Now this run up slow sounds very different from when you hear it played, but this is it. Pushed up here. That's measure 32. Measures 33 and 34. Slow. So I've seen this kind of thing before, where he's in other tunes where he's strumming all 6 strings, doing a lot of heavy muting, but kind of switching around the bass notes, like. And that's what you're doing in this case, strumming all 6 strings, a lot of heavy muting, muting the 1st, 5th, and 4th. So we start off with this little hammer-on, and that's kind of the melody we're going for. But at the same time, we're playing this note, the 8th fret of the B string. 2nd string, and then the 8th fret of the 6th string up here. So that's kind of what you hear, that at the same time as these notes. So real slow. You'll notice that that third last note is kind of, you hold it longer than the others, and the other ones are basically strike, muted upstroke, strike, muted upstroke, and then you repeat that thing again. And pretty much that's all there is to it. One more time, slow. Oops. Measures 35 and 36. We're sliding into measure 35 and hitting the open 4th string and hitting this partial chord. We're only really fretting these two notes on the 3rd and 2nd strings, 4th fret of the 3rd, 3rd fret of the 2nd. We've seen that before. And then measure 35 is a bit different. We're kind of doing the 3rd fret and then the open 4th string, and then we're just fretting the bottom 2 strings at the 3rd fret, kind of hitting that one in the 3rd string open, and then this kind of lick, slide from the 5th fret to the 7th on the 6th, and then we kind of walk up strumming. Here we do this neat thing, 7, 8, 7, 5, and then on the 5th string, 7, back to the 5th on the 4th string. So one more time slow, that last measure. Measures 37 and 38. Slow. Starting with measure 37, just basic barring of the 7th fret from the 5th string to the 3rd string, and we do this little hammer on from the 7th fret to the 9th on the 5th string. Muted strum. Repeat that. This time we add a hammer on the 4th string from the 7th fret to the 9th fret. Then we do this little chromatic thing. I'll just play all the notes. That's kind of how that goes. So slow one more time. We end off with a little muted upstroke. Then we slide down to this position, and we play this. That's kind of neat. We kind of do a same kind of chromatic thing we did before, but the first bit we actually play, it's all on the 5th string, starting at the 5th fret, 5, 6, 7. We actually let the 4th string ring open when we play that, and then we kind of bar the 5th fret at the 4th and 3rd strings, and then we do that kind of lick again. Let's start at the top. That end bit is kind of neat. We do the slide from the 3rd fret on the 6th string to the 5th, but we also play the open 5th string. So we get this kind of thing. And then we pop the 3rd fret of the 4th string, and then we do this again, and then we pop the open 4th string to end it off. So that last measure 38 slow. Okay, we're going to go over some of the weird or unique measures in the 3rd verse, because we don't want to like do every single measure on its own. It's bad enough. All right, so this is measure 44. It's weird and it sounds like this. What's weird is this thing, this 3-chord thing that's played very fast. So we start off. Alternate chord, by the way. We're doing this bar with our first finger on the 3rd fret on strings 2 and 1. And then we do this. So the shapes that are going down there are like basically a D chord shape. And let's use the 3rd string as our root. So the 7th fret on the 3rd string, do this D shape. And then on the 5th fret, we kind of do this bar. And then on the 4th fret, it's kind of like a major shape. It's kind of like the first 3 notes of that chord. So really fast, you got to go in the midst of that lick. And so let's play that slow. Then we kind of do this neat. So we're on the 5th fret, on the 5th string, we slide it up to the 10th fret, play that, time-keeping ka-thunk, and then 3rd fret on the 6th string. So the whole thing really slow. So just kind of watch where these muted time-keeping things are to keep you on beat. That's pretty much it. This is probably the hardest part of the song, doing these chords really fast. I had trouble with it, so I made little exercises like just practice it till you can get it. Play it slow. And only speed up when you've mastered it and it's clean. And even if you don't get it every time, it still sounds pretty cool. Measure 61 to 66 features the repeating outro chorus vocal, and the rhythm under that sounds like this. So what we have is the D chord with that hammer on, and slow that rhythm is like this. And we're actually ending that sequence off with the open 4th string because we're in the midst of switching hand positions, so all the strings kind of become available to hit. Then we go down to that C hammer-on thing. And then repeat. Second time we do that C chord, we don't do that. We just kind of go. And then back up. And then we slip down to the C and kind of just hold it. And then we do a down, up, thunk, and a 3rd fret of the 6th string, and then open. So that last bit is. One more time. 2, 3. And that sets us up for the next lick. So for these ones up here, you see a lot of muting, and you're basically strumming like this the whole time. And it's your fretting hand kind of lightening up and controlling which one is going to be a muted thump. Let's just listen to the notes and isolate those. Hopefully this helps. that was, but that's how that ends off. So it's all about feel, and if we you can really heavily accent some of those chunks the way he's to create this driving kind of rhythmic thing. That's kind of the feel he's putting into it. Bars 67 to 71, the end of the song. Have a pick in there. Woohoo! So what's going on there? So coming out, I just want to make a small correction. I noticed that that chord that we hold from the last measure, 66, I was doing a pinky 8th fret on the B. It's not, you can do that if you want, but really all I hear on the track is just like that. And then we do this, and that brings us to measure 67. So coming off of this, it's a bit different. Instead of, it's this. So really slow. And then we go into the next one, which is the beginning of the hardest parts of the song, in my opinion. These things. So measure 68 is 1, 2, 3, 4. So we do 4 notes here. 1, 2, 3, 4. A bop and a mute, and then these things. We've seen these before in measure 44. Hardest part of the song, in my opinion. You just gotta rattle it off there and kind of keep it on beat. So right after we do that, that's kind of a D shape, minor shape or just barred, and then the major shape. So I do a down, up, down when I do that. And then the bass lick there is just a slide from the 5th fret on the 5th string up, but strummed, full strums, everything muted around it. And then we go into the next measure after that. Again, four notes here on the 3rd fret of the 6th string. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's alright. So we just go 1 note higher. We do the major shape, and then the D shape, then the minor shape, and then the major again. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's kind of quick at the start. And then you slow down. After that, the bass lick, all he's got time for is something like that. So I tend to do a slide up, but on the track he does a hammer on. And then we go into the last of these types of measures, and that is 1, 2. So he does 2 kind of pumps on the 3rd fret of the 6th string, the bop, and then with the D shape, then the minor shape, and then we do the G chord, and then we kind of bar our 3rd finger across the 5th fret on strings 4, 3, and 2. So again, real slow. Strum, and he shakes the guitar a bit, and if you have a pick on your guitar, it'll rattle around and ruin it. So I'll just play that through slow from where we left off, 67 to 71. So a tip for practicing these bits would be to just practice the transition. Until you get comfortable with them. And yeah, just put the practice in and it'll come. Thanks again. This was a great tune to dissect and put on the autopsy table, as always. An excellent acoustic rendition of a great John Mayer tune. Thanks for watching.